three dentists and psychiatrists walk into a podcast. No, couldn't do that. Three dentists and a psychiatrist walk into an OCR investigation. That we can do.
Yeah.
And that's what's happened.
True story.
You're listening to the Help Me with HIPAA podcast, where HIPAA and humor collide to make learning fun. Your delightful hosts are Donna Grindle and David Sims. Relax. HIPAA help is on the way.
Welcome to episode 350, or as we like to say, 350.
50. There you go.
Man. The Help Me with HIPAA podcast. I'm David Sims of HIPAA for MSPs, and joining me is Donna Grindle of Carden. Good afternoon, Donna.
Hello, David.
So today we got some awesomeness.
For 350, thankfully OCR said, here, we're going to give you this the day you're recording 350.
Yep. So, dropped in my inbox today and I didn't have a chance to look at it. I was like, oh, I can't wait to look at this and see what Donna says. The next thing I know, Donna's like, we're going to talk about it today. Okay, great. I guess
we'll figure it out right now.
Yeah, we'll go through this and all at the same time. But I'm excited to hear about this because it always gives us insight to what OCR is looking for or not looking for, or some of the craziness that people do.
Right. Well, all the experts out there.
Yep.
Telling you what you do and don't have to do. We're going to actually say, let's see how that went.
Yeah. See, how'd that work out for you?
How'd that work out? Indeed.
All right. But before we dive into that, I do want to remind everybody, if you're interested in the Privacy and Security Bootcamp, yes, we have a 3.5-day in-person event coming September 12, 13, 14, and 15. You can find out more at the PrivacyBootcamp.com. It's going to be great.
In Louisville, Kentucky.
That's right.
And we got our partners coming in. And by the time this comes out, we're going to start sending out all of our social media blast and all of those kind of things to really share what we got going on. Because I'm really excited about it. I think it's going to be a lot of work, but really, really informative and good.
Mm-hmm. It's going to be fantabulous.
Okay, well, we'll go with that then.
And everybody who signs up and comes, we're going to give them a free 1-year subscription to this podcast.
Why not just go for 2 years?
Lifetime? How about lifetime?
Lifetime.
I'll throw in a lifetime. How about that?
We'll
upgrade you.
Gonna upgrade you.
That's right. As always, thanks to our donors. We appreciate your support. And if you want to know more about Carden, which is Donna Grindle's company, you can find it at cardenhu.com. You can find out more about HIPAA for MSPs at HIPAA4MSPs.com. Spell it any way you want. You'll get there. All right. Now for our HIPAA.
Say what?
Oh, yeah. This is gonna lead into our main topic, but let's talk about what HIPAA says.
Well, I had 2 little points to throw in here. One, just to point out for those who, for some reason, think that HIPAA does not apply to dentists, which we have heard before. Have we not?
Yeah, we have.
Yeah. And so actually it does apply to dentists. And we're going to talk about that. If you file electronic claims for patient care, there's that. You're a covered entity. So most dentists are indeed covered entities.
Mm-hmm.
We're about to get into that to make sure that everybody knows HIPAA applies to dentists.
Yep. Which means that decisions that you make about things will matter differently because you are now dealing with HIPAA.
What you choose to do or not do becomes a bigger question.
Yep. So if you are a dentist, you have 2 choices right now. You can not listen and maintain your ignorance, or you can listen to the end of this one.
Yeah.
And you will be enlightened.
Indeed. It's our job to try to enlighten, We can only do so much.
Yep.
But the other thing is from where I was answering some questions, it was kind of interesting about when somebody leaves a job at a covered entity or a business associate, how does HIPAA apply to them? And so the question was, do I still, it's like when you quit working there, HIPAA doesn't apply anymore. So I can just tell everything I saw.
I can't unknow this.
Yes. So you can't unknow it, but you really need to pretend you do. Because once you learn it as part of your job at a CE or a BA, never share it. You just shouldn't do it. Mm-hmm. There is that legality where, who knows what could happen if the law gets applied to whatever you choose to do with information. Mm-hmm. So don't go off telling people stuff that you learned in that job because you are violating the HIPAA law.
We need one of those like Men in Black flashlight things.
Just forget it.
Yeah, you just forgot all that.
You don't need to know it. You don't need to remember it.
Yep.
But that was followed up with a question of, well, once I work at a HIPAA covered entity or business associate and a family member or a friend tells me something about their health, am I allowed to say it? First of all, if you're not learning it through your job at a covered entity or business associate, it's not then considered PHI. Mm-hmm. However, if somebody tells you something and tells you not to tell it or doesn't give you permission to tell it about a private thing, most of us should just keep our mouths shut. Mm-hmm. So, and once you are in the healthcare industry and it, let's say you're, it's known that you are a nurse or lab, whatever, there's a higher expectation of privacy when I'm talking to you. And in most cases, people will say, it's okay if you tell so-and-so, or they'll say, I don't want you to tell anyone anything. Go by what they ask. But no, the HIPAA law doesn't apply. Just try to be a good person. How about that?
That's too much to ask.
I know. Just be a good person is all we're going to recommend. You use some sense. So there you go. That's the HIPAA Say What segment of today. For today.
All right. Cool. So we started this new segment. We call it the 405D Tip of the Week. And
yes,
cool thing about this is you're going to learn some stuff. But for those of you who don't know, 405D, they put out a lot of good materials that has to do with cybersecurity in healthcare. So it's not a HIPAA thing, though the things that you do can apply to HIPAA. But it's a good way to really look at the things that are the top 5 threats, and then how can we address those things. So one thing I really like about it is you're not trying to do everything all at once. Right. If you just, I don't know about you, but I always go to people and say, look, let's just address these 5 things right now. Mm-hmm. And then we'll get to the rest of them later on, but let's just nail these 5 down. And you can almost see their face go, oh, 5? Okay, I can do that.
I can do 5.
But what they don't know is that doing those 5 will knock out probably 80+% of their problems. If, maybe 90+%. I mean, it's a lot.
80-20 rule.
Absolutely. So we do want to remind everybody there is a spotlight series that happens. And you want to tell everybody about the webinars coming up?
Yeah, so on the website at, what is it, David?
HHS.
Oh.
Dot. I can get everybody every time. 45d.hhs.gov. I run out of breath there. Let me do it again.
I got so excited.
Yeah, I got so excited. 405d.hhs.gov.
There you go.
Yeah. It didn't help that my phone was over here. For some reason, when I said HHS, my phone turned on, which that scares me in and of itself.
Hello? Listening.
Yeah, it distracted me because as soon as I said HHS, my phone lit up and turned, started doing stuff. And I'm like, well, okay.
Uh-oh. See? We're not going to go any further down that rabbit hole. But there are many things on the website, and that's what our tip of the week is all about, is sharing the information on the website. And the Spotlight series is the webinar series that different things are covered, but as it says on the website, shines a light on various cyber-related topics with an industry member at the heart of the discussion.
Mm-hmm.
I love how they give all that stuff. But the bottom line is that we've had several. Here are some examples of the things that were covered: monitoring and responding to cyber threats, Internet of Medical Things, making them secure, healthcare's enterprise cyber risk management. My favorite, a case study of cancer care in the wake of a cyber attack. Excellent. One of the best ones I've ever seen. And in December, it was 2021 Cyber Threat Review and Where Are We Going? And this episode comes out on April the 8th. Great. Drop everything. Go to the website, 405d.hhs.gov, and right there on the first page, it tells you about the one that's coming up on Wednesday, April the 13th. From 1 to 2, it's CISA and 405D Fireside Chat, where CISA's going to take you through all of the things that free, ding, 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 free Sci-Hi resources, free cyber hygiene resources for those in the critical infrastructure entities. So they're going to step you through what it is and how to go about and learn all those things instead of like we've done, which is just try it and see what happens. So quick now, go register and attend. And if not, there'll be information out on the website just like there are for the other ones. So there's your tip of the week.
All righty. And just a reminder, no matter how much money you put into cybersecurity, your people can still mess you up.
Oh, yeah. David just experienced that. Well, a client did. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, it's, people in your organization have the ability to do certain things as part of their job. Security is not going to stop them from doing their job. But when they're scammed into doing something else, there's not a whole lot of, there's not any technology is going to help that. I mean, that's why we look at people, processes, and technology. And so if you happen to be one that, I've got all the technology stuff, that's not enough. It's not enough.
Near.
Sorry to tell you that, because some people think you can just, throw money at it and that's it. But that's not going to help you.
No, because you're still throwing people at it.
As long as there's people, there's a problem.
Uh-huh. It's hard to defend against the human.
Yep.
All right.
Alrighty. Ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. Let's hit this.
You got a joke for us?
Well, yeah, I couldn't handle it when I I started reading it, and I see our first actual big enforcement actions of 2022, or at least announced in 2022. Some of this has already happened. It just wasn't announced. But there were 4, and I'm like, well, and then I noticed quickly, it's like you have a joke that 3 dentists and a psychiatrist walk into a bar. Okay. Then I was like, no, 3 dentists and a psychiatrist walk into a podcast. No, couldn't do that. 3 dentists and a psychiatrist walk into an OCR investigation. That we can do.
Yeah.
And that's what's happened.
True story.
So they did announce all 4 of these at the same time. And Director Pino kind of alluded that there was announcements coming post-haste earlier in the month. But we have our traditional press release quote from the director.
Yep.
And that's where David gets to do his imitations to pretend that he is a strict business lawyering kind of guy.
Between the rising pace of breaches of unsecured protected health information and continued cybersecurity threats impacting the healthcare industry, it's critical that covered entities take their HIPAA compliance responsibilities seriously. OCR will continue our steadfast commitment to protect individuals' health information, privacy, and security through enforcement, and we will pursue civil money penalties for violations that are not addressed. End quote.
And notice it's health information, privacy, and security.
Mm-hmm.
Health information, PRISEC, David.
Yeah,
PRISEC. We're getting
I've heard that before. I've heard it before.
We're getting there. Who wants to say privacy and security over and over? Trust me.
Yeah.
Let's shortcut it to PriceSec.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Well, we have officially done it with the PriceSec boot camp. Thank you very much.
That's right.
Okay, so we have 2 of these are patient right of access, and 2 of these are improper disclosures.
All right.
So I thought let's start with the improper disclosure ones. And even the patient right of access ones are a little different than what we normally see. The first is Dr. David Northcutt in Fairhope, Alabama. As always, it's in the Southeast. We get to have some discussion, and 2 of these in the Southeast. So when I read this, and I had to read it a couple of times to go, really, am I reading that right? But here's the deal. In 2017, the doctor decided to run for state senator in Alabama, and he engaged a campaign manager. I love how they say this, for assistance in this endeavor.
Oh boy, here we go. It's already going off the rails.
That's right. So on or about somewhere in here, July 10th, 2017, Dr. Northcutt provided an Excel spreadsheet to the campaign manager, which contains the name and addresses of 3,657 patients. So the campaign manager then mailed letters to these patients to announce the run for state senate on the campaign letterhead, but it was addressed to Dear Valued Patient. Who does this? Okay, that is a complete disregard for what you're allowed to do with patient information. Wow. Complete disregard.
I mean, you would think, I'm doing some speculation here, but I don't think Dr. Northcutt was like, I don't care about HIPAA. I'm just going to do it. I don't think he knew this, which is part of the problem. Like, you should know what you can and can't do with PHI.
You can clearly say you don't care about HIPAA when you don't even know that you should stop and think about it. So either one of 2 things, willful ignorance
or willful neglect.
Or willful neglect. You know?
But it's like, okay, you've got patient information. Right there, you should stop and say, am I allowed to do what I want to do with this patient information? That question should be asked, and not to a campaign manager, no. Somebody who would know, and then make that determination.
Yes, but let's take this a step further.
Oh gosh, here we go.
So a year later, on April 30th, 2018, they sent email communications to his patient regarding the campaign. The email header showed the email is coming from Northcutt Dental, and the email message was signed sincerely, Northcutt Dental.
All right.
But they used a third-party marketing company called Solution Reach to send the emails. So the campaign email was sent to the same patients that received the mail letter, plus an additional 1,727 patients, for a total of 5,385 individuals whose information that was supposed to not be used for anything other than treatment, payment, and operating the business for that treatment and payment, now getting campaign letters and emails. So I'm going to guess that a patient notified somebody. Just going to guess.
Yeah, probably more than one.
Yeah, I'm going to guess. Like, why am I getting this as I'm a patient? I mean, they're saying it. They're not even trying to hide it. Again, willful ignorance or willful neglect. They're not even trying to hide that we're talking to our patient base. So OCR went looking around, asking a few questions. Knock, knock, knock. I'd like to get some stuff. And the net of it is we end up with 4 violations of HIPAA requirements that they documented. Number 1 Well, we've already discussed that they impermissibly disclosed the name and address of the individuals to the campaign manager for the letter in 2017.
Mm-hmm.
So now we've got that. Then they did the same thing to the marketing vendor for the outside service arrangement.
Mm-hmm.
So now we've got two different entities that we gave patient information to, as if it was willy-nilly. And then, so remember, it was on or about July 10th, 2017, that they gave them the Excel spreadsheet to do the mailing of the letters. I'm going to wager, based on this next violation, that somebody started asking questions around then.
Yeah.
Because they did not designate a privacy official until November 14th, 2017.
Oh. So just after the first disclosure, all of a sudden,
yeah,
they're like, we probably should have a privacy officer.
Somebody should be looking into this.
Yeah.
But here's where it gets even more dicey. So remember, we had that, and then in April 2018, we had the emails go out, right?
Right.
So we have the letters go out, something happens, then we have a privacy official set up in November,
Mm-hmm.
and then they did not implement policies and procedures until January 2018. So now...
Okay.
July
months later.
Yeah, and so now it seems like we're getting on track. And then in April, we send the emails. So whatever we did in November and January, clearly, I would like to suggest that privacy official come to the PriceSec boot camp.
Either that or they got rid of the privacy official.
I know. And the policies and procedures, if you did the policies and procedures, my guess is they designated, hey, you weren't in the meeting, so you're the privacy officer, and they downloaded some templates or got some from somebody they know, and they're like, okay, we're good. The OCR is asking questions, but no, let's don't read them or actually understand what we're supposed to do. Just check the box of the compliance requirements.
Mm-hmm.
So needless to say, they went through a lot because the settlement was for $62,500 and a 2-year corrective action plan that has some very specific details about policies and procedures, security risk analysis, all the things we're used to seeing in a 2-year corrective action plan to build a proper privacy and security program. So, that was one dentist. Let's move from Alabama, which is closer to my side of the Southeast, to something in your back door, David.
Yeah, yep.
And I'm going to have you cover this one, so you have to try to say the name.
I cannot pronounce the guy's last name. but Dr. U. Philip Igbendollar. Yeah,
that's why they call him UPI.
Yeah, UPI and Associates. In Charlotte, North Carolina, in my back door. Yes, in my backyard. He's got offices in Charlotte and Monroe, both places. One's at the back door, one's at the side door. Oh, man. So, I didn't hear about this locally, though. Sometimes these make the local news, but I didn't hear about this one.
Yeah, you're going to have to go looking for it now.
Yeah,
you probably heard that name and glazed over because you couldn't follow it.
I don't know that you won't forget that name though. So yeah, I would. But anyway, I have people that do business in the dental community in this area, so I'm definitely going to be reaching out to them saying, you know anything about this?
Yeah, there you go. Because this one is, I don't care.
Yeah, this is one of these people that had we talked to them about being a client, we probably would not have done business with them. Just because if this is the way they treat that kind of thing, then this is not what I want to deal with. And this is unfortunate that my experience in the dental community is that I run into these a lot, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So.
Hey, you can't tell me.
Yep.
So,
All right.
yeah.
So let's see what happens. See how this worked out for him.
Yeah, go ahead. You go ahead. Because there's not a lot we can learn on this one unless we go digging.
Yeah. So, I mean, according to what OCR put out, there was an impermissible disclosure of PHI on a web page in response to a negative online review. Now, how many times have we seen things like that where
A bunch.
somebody gets on social media or somebody puts something on Yelp or whatever? So I don't know what web page it was, but, let's just, for the sake of an example, we'll say it was Yelp.
Yeah, there's a lot of the dental kind of reviews there.
Yep. So there's it could be anything. It could be Google reviews, whatever. So
Right.
anyway, apparently they responded to the online review, which again, you have to be extremely careful how you do that because you're talking to a patient in
Yes.
a public forum. And that information quickly becomes PHI and you can't talk about it. But anyway, here's what got them in trouble. Well, that initially did, but they didn't even respond to OCR. Like, no.
Yeah.
Which, was it, I don't care? Or is it like, I don't even know what an OCR is and they're not getting anything from me. I don't know.
Yeah.
But they're like, I don't care. No, I'm not sending you anything. Didn't respond to that. And nor did they respond to an administrative subpoena. that came
Asking
down.
for information.
Yeah. They're like, no,
No.
we're good.
Mm.
We're good. Thanks for sending that, but we're good. But eventually they did waive their rights to a hearing and because they didn't contest the findings. And there was a notice of proposed determination and a civil money penalty was imposed for $50,000. So,
Yes. So they're basically saying nothing applies to us. I did look them up on Yelp. There are 2 old reviews, one from 2015, one from 2016. They're not good. They're both 1 star, talking about how the doctor, the staff, as well as the doctor, is incredibly disrespectful and incompetent.
Mm.
One even said, I would not recommend this practice to my worst enemy. Wow. Yeah. So somewhere in here, there must have been a response because it's gone, which is good. But the most important thing that this is why we always say that you have to have a social media policy that covers multiple things.
Mm-hmm.
What are you going to do when there's a review? Who gets to control what's posted on your website? How do you respond on your social media pages? And what is it that can employees say about patients or work on their social media pages?
Yep.
Yeah. So there's got to be a lot. And no matter how you look at it, I think we're going to hear more about this one.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you remember. Well, I know you do remember, but I brought up, it's been a couple of years ago or so now, the Facebook conversation I had with the lady who said, this is just Facebook.
Uh-huh.
It's not real life.
Yeah.
She was disclosing patient information on Facebook, and I said something
she said
to her.
she only replied.
Yeah.
I didn't say his name. They said his name.
Yeah, I didn't say who he was.
I just replied that he was a patient.
But she was an employee at a dental office as well. So it just seems to be a lot of not understanding things in the dental world.
Or
all the way
choosing
around.
not to. One of the other.
Yeah, absolutely choosing not. No, they're choosing not to. There's too much information out there. This podcast has been around for 350 episodes.
Yeah.
We've been out there for years talking about these things. You can't say you didn't know anymore. You're not even trying. Every single industry has been out there talking about, you need to understand how HIPAA applies to you. And all people want to focus on is audits. Don't get caught up in an audit. And I'm like, oh my gosh.
We just covered that last week, didn't we?
Yeah,
so
we
if you're
did.
listening to this and you haven't listened to last week, do not miss last week.
Yeah. So, we hear things like, I'm too small. That should go. All of these are small practices, and some of them are single doctor practices. There's no such thing as I'm too small.
Right.
But, just if you don't have somebody on your staff dealing with this, I don't even know what to tell you, but you should definitely have the availability of resources to know who to reach out to. And I can think of a couple of people to make sure that you can get your questions answered on what you're supposed to do or not do before you make these kind of decisions.
Yeah. Well, there are cases where there's a settlement where the privacy officer did specifically say to the doctor, say nothing.
And doctor's like, I'll do it anyway.
I'm going to do it anyway. So, you do have that problem.
Yeah.
Okay. So, that one, they just said, we don't exist. Nanny, nanny, boo, boo. If we don't look at you, you can't see us. I can't see you. Yeah. That whole thing.
Yeah. Honestly, I feel bad for whoever's might be out there trying to help them because, when I first saw this, I'm like, oh, I should probably reach out and see if I can help them. And then the more I read about it, I'm like, no,
there's no sense. There's no sense.
Yeah. No, not today.
No. All right, so guess what? We still have another dentist.
Oh.
Remember how we started? HIPAA applies to dentists. And I titled this 4 OCR Cases For Us because it's our 350. They did it for us. But maybe we should call it, 3 dentists and a psychiatrist walk into a bar. But the next one is... And I told David I'm going to try to behave and not giggle like a child because his name is Broccoli. And that's just a dentist named Broccoli, Dr. Donald Broccoli. And all I see is little bitty broccoli things in your teeth. I can't help it. But, now maybe I'll remember. This one is similar. They tried to push it like the others did. Right? Because the other one had one social media situation. Okay. Mm-hmm. But this one was a right of access because the patient had been requesting their records, and the right of access requirements also apply to dentists. Okay. Mm-hmm. Same thing. They were like, hey, we got notice somewhere early 2019. We don't know exactly where because we know we pick up in August 2019. That they clearly had a patient complaint because that's how these right of access come in. And they were like, hey, we got a patient complaint. Send us some information. And they didn't respond. So the same thing happened. August 2019, OCR sent them a notice. You're in violation of the privacy rule right of access. And we're going to move forward unless you participate. So then we know what happened shortly after that, because that usually nothing would have happened. And from August 2019, you wouldn't have seen anything until January-ish. And a thing happened in 2020 that none of us want to talk about because it's never stopped. But by the end of 2020, November 3rd, 2020, things started happening again. And HHS notified Dr. Broccoli in Butler, Pennsylvania. Don't think we mentioned that. Guess what? We're going to enforce a civil money penalty on you, just like the other guy we just talked about, except this one's $104,000. Boom. $104,000. So what had happened was at that point, they started paying attention. And in January 2021, they said, could we get a hearing? Because we've gone too far now. We need to have a hearing. So at that point, things went back and forth for a while. And in October, they said, okay, we're going to negotiate this and settle it. And so they have a $30,000 settlement. And they had to commit to having everything done by December 9th.
Ooh.
So I'm assuming that they were already trying to take care of things, but they just chose to, here, we'll fix everything and maybe they'll go away. You don't do that. Don't do that. You do need to fix everything and tell them that you're fixing everything.
Yeah.
So $30,000 instead of 104. And you can always know that pretty much all of that is followed with, and we don't want to see you again from OCR. We don't. Yeah. I know you don't want to see them, but they don't want to see you again once you've been through these.
Yeah. And I don't know this, but there's a chance that their settlement could have been less than $30,000 if they would have just responded.
If they had just responded, there wouldn't even have been a settlement, probably.
Yeah.
You know, like we discussed last week, the vast majority of these, if you respond and you are repentant and trying to fix it and want to do the right thing and you move forward and show them you're doing that, great.
Yeah.
You know, just don't let them come back later and see you didn't do anything, because that it will not go well. So there's 3 dentists all starting down the path of you're not the boss of me. And I think that's why we're seeing this, is they're starting to really say, okay, dentist, you're clearly not paying attention, because just as she said, you know, we're going to enforce until people are paying attention.
Yeah. Well, how many times have you, well, you may have not have, but I've heard before dentists say, show me where a dentist has been caught up in an investigation. Show me where, you know, and they're kind of sparse, but so now, not so much.
Here, 3 in one day, boom.
Bam. There you go.
And, you know, they're seeming to be taking the stance that you are considering. Would not recommend these. So that brings us to the psychiatrist, which is another area. Would you like to share a little bit about what the mental health stuff, frustration of someone you knew mentioned that they couldn't get records, but they finally got things and you didn't get to go in and be a badass?
Yeah. Yeah. I had a conversation I was just privy to that my stepson had went to I don't know what specialty he went to, psychiatrist, I'm assuming, but it was due to a car accident he was involved in and blah, blah, blah. Won't tell you the whole backstory, but what caught my attention is that sitting in the living room with my wife last week, and she makes a statement to me about, I've been waiting on the psych notes for 3 months now, and I can't get them to send me the notes. And I'm like, what? What? What do you mean? You can't get patient information for 3 months? And, you know, I basically said, call them Monday morning, say this, and if you don't get them by the end of the week, let me know. And she did get them by the end of the week. But yeah, I mean, it had been at least 3 months since she asked for these patient information or patient records, and the place was just giving her a runaround. And
they said, we don't have to do that.
Yeah, pretty much one of their responses was, well, you know, we're a psychiatry office and we don't have to give you everything like other people do.
Yeah, which is wrong.
Wrong.
So same thing here. The November 23rd, 2018, OCR received a complaint against Jacob and Associates, which is a mental health group in California, multiple offices. And the patient alleged that on July 1st of each year, it's kind of like it's some sort of tradition, starting in 2013 all the way to 2018, every July 1st, she mailed letters in a stamped envelope addressed to them requesting a copy of her medical records. And by the time she files a complaint in November 2018, so this has been going on over 5 years.
Wow.
Still had not gotten any response or the records.
Wow.
I know.
Yeah, that's like, let's see, on my thing today, I'm going to pull my annual credit report. I'm going to request my medical records. It's like, I'm going to change the batteries in my smoke alarm.
Yeah, July 1st every year. That's what I'm going to do. So apparently in 2018, she learned she could do something, or the patient, we don't know who it was, the patient learned they could file a complaint. And so they did not receive a response. So the complainant resubmitted the request by facsimile, and they provided a complete copy of her medical records, 11 pages, on May 16th, 2019. First request, July 1st, 2013. That's a long time. So but here's the thing. Go ahead.
Somebody had to tell her, like, you should do this over fax.
Well, I'm sure that they, when she filed her complaint, there was some, have you done this? Have you done that? I'm sure. But here's the thing. They sent it by electronic mail as the patient had requested, after requiring her to travel to their office to complete its form to exercise her right of access, and imposing a flat fee of $25. So you know that's not cost-based. And initially providing an incomplete one-page paper copy of the records. So $25, I'm going to give you one page. One page. And guess what? They had not designated a privacy official, and their notice of privacy practices did not have required content. So they settled $28,000 2-year corrective action plan. Okay. All of those things are wrong. Everything they did was wrong. You know, we've been, I can't remember how far back our discussions on how to calculate the price, what kind of the time. I mean, we've been talking about this for years. This is not something again, it is willful ignorance or neglect.
Yep. And again, 350 episodes. You can search them and find whatever topic is you want, and chances are you're going to get an answer.
Yeah, I mean, really and truly free. We would tell you to not do that, and you wouldn't have spent the legal fees and the $28,000 and the 2 years of them looking over your shoulder and all of this.
Yep.
And I mean,
Well, you know, they often say ignorance is bliss, but I say it's also expensive.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. You know, you and I do this all day, every day. We talk about it every week on the podcast. We're still terrified we're going to screw up.
Yeah. Yeah, I am.
I'm always worried about it. So there you have it, Mr. Sims. For us, 4 OCR cases for us to celebrate our 350th episode.
That's right.
That's right.
That's right. So, yeah.
All right.
Shout out to the OCR director. Thanks for listening and helping us out. Welcome to the family. All right, folks, that is our show for today. Thanks for listening as always. Make sure you go check out prostatebootcamp.com, and I hope to see you there. And I'll let you buy me a drink if you show up.
Don't worry, he's cheap.
Yeah, I am. I definitely am.
Yeah.
Make sure you send us a review. We haven't asked for reviews in a long time. So head on over to wherever you listen to the podcast and leave us a review. And make sure you keep spreading the word. Thanks, as always. And remember, for Donna and myself, HIPAA is not about compliance. It's about patient care.
You've been listening to the Help Me with HIPAA podcast, hosted by Donna Grindle and David Sims. The show created to help you with HIPAA. For more information or to ask us a question, visit our website at helpmewithhipaa.com. Neither Donna Grindle or David Sims are attorneys, and they do not offer binding legal advice concerning regulatory compliance. The information in this podcast should not be relied upon or construed as legal advice in any way. Consult your attorney for legal advice concerning compliance with HIPAA regulations.